Thanks for tuning in. This week you will be seeing me prepping this Audi DTM body. Last week I unveiled it and basically announced it as my next painting project. Feel free to shoot any type of suggestion that you have for a paint scheme in the box below or in the box of the previous video. I'm looking at all of them and there's some great stuff in there. What's all this? Well, I didn't know either. I was looking at some Audi DTM stuff online this week and I saw that they have all these winglets. Well, guess what? FG also supplies them. So you can make an exact replica of an Audi A4 DTM car with all these supplied parts. It does mean that I need to drill a few holes in the body. As I always try to explain to people, it's way easier to drill all those holes, ream all those holes when the shell is still clear, when you can still see what you're doing. So I'll be doing that first. After that, the BMW that came with the car originally, it's a BMW M3 shell. I'm pointing over there, you can't see it. I'm pointing over there because the shell is over there. The BMW is a bit narrower in the center section. So in order to make the Audi fit to the chassis, I need to alter the chassis a bit with these optional body posts. And I still do not know where these go, but I got all these parts bags. I know the numbers on them. I will be putting them in the description box below because reading them out loud is really not interesting. So if you have an FG BMW and you want to convert it into an Audi, these are the parts you need. This is all optional stuff. They do not recommend mounting these if you do some hardcore racing because they will come off. But for display purposes and for making it look as scale as possible, well, these are awesome, of course, and you know, if you can get them, why not? Stay tuned. I'll be zooming in on the chassis afterwards. I'm going to show you which holes in the frame, in the chassis, in that pan chassis you need to use for these Audi specific body posts, because there is a bit of tweaking needed. So I need to figure that out as well, where they go and how that looks. I'm going to alter the rear body post, make sure that everything looks good while the shell is still transparent, because that's the easiest way to do it. You still have a full view of the chassis, you can see everything you need to do, everything you want to do, and then after that I'm going to mask it up with a liquid mask. I took the body off to have a bit easier. That was my phone, can you believe it? I will turn that on mute first. Took the body off the chassis. The chassis, it's an FG Sportsline 4-wheel drive chassis. I bought it as a BMW American Le Mans edition. That's why it comes with these kind of narrow body posts. They also sit a bit more in the center of the chassis compared to where they are supposed to sit if I want to mount the Audi body. What I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure I got one side completely lined up first. I got my screwdrivers ready. Most of the screws in this chassis are regular Phillips screws in two different sizes. So we've got a tiny screwdriver and a slightly bigger one. I'm going to take off this battery tray first. It gives me access to these body posts. I'll be putting on the slightly longer body posts. I will tell you afterwards which one goes where, because at this point I still have no idea. I'll be putting on these slightly longer body posts on the more outer mounting points over here on the chassis. You can tell that there's a few more holes drilled in this chassis to give you a bit of room to make alterations, and those alterations are needed to mount this specific body to the chassis. Not quite sure if you can notice, but the brackets that you see over here, the mounting points for the body, I've moved them a bit more out and I've replaced them for the slightly longer ones. There's one main difference between the body mounts that you get in these bags. The lip that slides over the chassis, the ones that you use in front are slightly thicker, I think about 2-3 millimeters, than the ones that you use in the back. Why is that? Well, I needed to look around a bit to figure it out, but I think it is because otherwise you wouldn't be able to put them over here underneath the pull start of the motor. Let me tip the chassis a bit so you can have a look at what I mean. You see that there's a really narrow space over here, and that's why there is a tiny difference between the two. I had them mixed up, of course, when I started out, and it wasn't before I felt the tip of the screw coming through the thin part of the bracket, because I put the thinner one in front first, that I noticed that something's up. And the screws that you use in the back over here are a bit shorter than the ones that you use in the front. What I'm going to do right now, I'm going to make sure that my battery tray gets reconnected. I'm going to change these out for the slightly longer posts as well. I have no idea what that will do. That's perhaps for an option part, like a side impact bar or something. But well, I got them, so I might just as well use them. Make sure the battery tray is back in place. Afterwards, I'm going to dismount this exhaust bracket, put the body mounts on this side, and then I'm ready for the test fit. I now have all of the new brackets on. These are the ones that I took off. I'm of course going to hold on to those in case I want to, I'm pointing in space again to a point where you cannot see it, but the BMW is sitting over there. In case I want to run that one, I got these body mounts. I know how to do this right now, so it wasn't that difficult at all. Main thing, this bracket, that's the most complicated one. You can do a few things in order to make sure you can fit this one. You can either take off these screws over here that hold these coupler into place, and take the exhaust apart from the header. Then you have these zip ties that hold on to this exhaust bracket. You can cut them up, of course, and put some new zip ties on there, but you can also just slide these. There's like a rubber ring around the stinger of the pipe. You can slide these rubber rings, you can slide them off the pipe. That way you got some slack in there to make sure you can adjust these two mounting points to fit up the new brackets correctly, and afterwards slide them back on. That's how I did it. Worked perfectly fine. No work at all. So this was not complicated. Right now I'm going to check if the body fits on there, and if I need to make some more alterations. I've now test fitted the body, and it is, I hope you can tell, it's pretty much perfect. So I'm happy, and I'm going to take out the body reamer to make sure I can punch those holes for all those winglets that need to be put on. Well, there you have it. I have all the holes reamed, I have all the winglets put on. Fairly simple, they're all marked, so there's a tiny L or a tiny R on the bottom of them. These two on the top, you need to stick them on afterwards with double-sided tape. Why is it handy to mount them prior to masking up? Gives you an opportunity to trace them out. That way you know that you do not have to paint these surfaces, or that you cannot paint that much detail in there, because eventually it won't be that visible. The front winglets, the top ones, they need to be mounted a bit differently. All the hardware is the same throughout all those option parts, so you have like a button head screw on all of these winglets. But then in front here, it says on the really tiny instruction paper that you got with it, it says: Verwenden Sie bitten die Linsenkopfschrauben. And in my poor German, I'm not cursing at you in any way, and it says Senkkopfschraube means sunken head screw. All of that stuff means sunken head screw. There's 4 sunken head screws, 2 tiny ones, 2 bigger ones in the kit. You use the tiny ones, as far as I could tell, you use them on the inside, and you use the slightly bigger ones on the outside. Might need to grind them off a bit to avoid contact with the rest of the body, since these are mounted on the separate bumper. Well, that wraps it up for today. I'll be taking all these parts off after I trace them, and giving them a good wash along with the rest of the body. I am going to paint them up. Also, if you do decide to get these winglets and you want to leave them white, don't be fooled into thinking that they will stay white if you leave them white, because they won't. Plastic, untreated plastic, will always turn yellow after a certain amount of time. So if you want it to be white, paint them up white. It's not that big of a hassle, and you'll benefit from it in the long run. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Next video I'll be showing how to put on the liquid mask and how to lay on some of the design. I hope you'll be watching then as well. If you haven't subscribed yet, press the subscribe button. I don't know if it's in the top, in the bottom, or wherever. Make sure to share the videos with your friends, invite them over, the more the merrier, and thanks for hanging out with me today.